The infiltration subsystem in Pathfinder is kind of rough. It essentially uses the victory point system, which is generally really good. However, the infiltration subsystem is a lot to throw at players, and in my experience, a subsystem kind of needs to be something that you can quickly pull up, everybody gets it, and you just move on with the session. You get the subsystem in there and it enhances what you're doing, but it doesn't require the players to go and flick through a bunch of things and memorize a bunch of extra stuff. The game is complicated as it is. Infiltration doesn't really achieve that goal I have for subsystems, so here's how I do it. I stole my heists. Is that ironic? No, it's not. But here's how a session of Blades in the Dark kind of goes. The players come up with a vague outline of a plan, and then they make a roll based on how good that plan is. Then we just jump forward into the thick of it. If the roll was good, the plan's traveling along well. If the roll was bad, they're up shit's creek. From there, the players use a series of flashbacks, retcons, and their skill checks to finagle their way to victory. That's the broad strokes of it. The Blades in the Dark rules are available for free. Absolutely go read it. I think there are things in that system that every gym should be stealing for every system. Now, I'm a big proponent of playing systems that are specifically designed for the genre and tone you're looking for. But Pathfinder 2 is such a catch-all generalist kind of system that your players will eventually want to steal something. But it won't be all the time. That's why I like to adapt things to the game I'm playing right now, instead of system hopping every other session. Here's my structure. First off, I start in media res, right in the action, sneaking onto the grounds, or right there at the dinner party wearing your masks. Then I give every player an extra hero point at the start of the heist. I let my players know that they can cash in this hero point to start a flashback scene. They tell me what they did in the last couple of days to prepare for this moment, and we abstract it down to a skill check. Now, this might be staking out the back gate to know when the guards rotate, so there's minimal chance someone stumbles onto a body. It might be bribing the guard to let them in, or it might be rigging a timed explosion on the other side of the castle so that everyone rushes off to see what that was. For these scenes, I like to make it a secret check as often as possible, to really just ratchet up the tension when we come back up to the present. The player doesn't know what might have happened in the time since they've done that. That guard might have had a change of heart and gone off and reported the bribe. Someone might stumble onto their timed explosion and disable it for the XP. The flashback could also just be used to buy gear. You don't want your players agonizing over whether or not to buy smoke sticks or a bunch of rope. Just let them spend the hero point at the time to spend the cash and have done it. The flashbacks really mean you can cut out the tedious planning, which can just really drag out. But if a player beforehand does have an idea, like they want to buy chalk and grind it up in case of invisible sentries, don't stop them, don't force them to use a hero point. The fact that they've thought of that and done it essentially saved them a hero point, and those hero points are going to run out faster than you think. The next thing to consider is stealth. It can be really, really punishing if a single failed stealth roll derails the whole heist. Thankfully, the official rules actually account for this. A failed roll should simply take you from unnoticed to undetected. Undetected in this context shouldn't mean alerting the whole castle immediately. It should be a, huh? Who goes there? Did someone turn out the lights? And they come a looking. I personally rule in these situations that if the guard fails their perception roll here, they'll usually just give up. What kind of guard is going to go off chasing shadows, leaving their post wide open? Sometimes it really is just the wind. It's only after a second stealth fail that the guard knows that there is someone there for sure. That's when you go from undetected to hidden. And now you have initiative on your hands. But even then, your player starts hidden to the guard. They have the opportunity to use a sneak action to get away, get a flat-footed attack off, create a diversion. If it comes to combat, this shouldn't immediately set off the whole building either. Point out is an action in Pathfinder 2, and if they don't have allies immediately nearby that can tell exactly what's going on, anyone that might be alerted needs to make a perception check to know exactly where the PC is. All of this really gives the player a good chance to take out the guard before they raise the alarm. Don't be afraid to let your party split up, and don't be afraid to have your location be pre-labyrinthian. It's good to have a predetermined map that a player might use a flashback to try and get as well. Let them have a little control over where they're going. From here, it kind of goes as expected. On the prep side of things, I'd advise using lower level enemies, like level -3 or 4. That's still a threat to a single sneak and rogue, but that's not so much that they'll just kill the PC if they find it. The real danger should be alerting all the guards and then they all get together in what adds up to a severe or extreme encounter. And It's something like 16 level -4 people that you would have to sneak past. That makes up an extreme encounter. That fills out a dungeon quite nicely. A good rule of thumb to remember for a solo PC, that party level -4 is a trivial encounter, party level -3 is a low encounter, and one party level -2 is a moderate encounter. Now, that's assuming you've got a split party. If the party stays together as they are wont to do, that's traditional wisdom, then having a single boss level enemy, party +3 or +4, that the party knows they have to avoid can be really fun. Just knowing that the lower level guards might call this hulking demon on whoever is caught should be enough to keep the fear of God in them. And don't forget to include traps as well. This is the ¡1 time to use traps, especially if the party's objective is to steal a specific object. You know that golden monkey has some kind of trap in it. You know it. The party is expecting it, so it should be there. This is also a good time to start tracking lockpicks and refills of thieves' tools. Oh yeah, I bet you've not been doing that in Pathfinder 2, because normally it's pretty boring. But this is where those choices actually become meaningful. How many lockpicks did you bring? Can you risk breaking one on this lock, or is it better to just smash that window? If you smash the window, how many people do you think are going to hear that? Are you going to be able to cover that up? Or do you want to just use a hero point and get a couple more lockpicks? Yeah, give me the hero point, you don't need them. These sessions are also where it's really, really good to have a random encounter table, or I like to call them a random complication table. I'll roll it every 10 minutes in game because a lot of Pathfinder 2 is based around these 10-minute dungeon turns. These shouldn't be combat encounters per se, just complications. They might be the cleaning staff coming through, a late night customer or a patron if it's like a bank or a library or something, someone else coming in to steal something, an unexpected guard change, anything that reinforces the location or the theme of your heist. I mean, hey, guards don't just stand around for 12 hours, they gotta go to the bathroom, unless they're a good guard, and then they just piss themselves. Ultimately, this is just a fancy flavored dungeon with easier to avoid combats. Not that this is much different to a normal session, but the elegance of Blades in the Dark's formulas and their flashbacks makes the tone of the whole ordeal very different without adding all this extra stuff for your players to keep track of. And that's what it comes down to, is letting it flow through your normal campaign.